They mistook your silence for surrender. They saw your patience and thought it meant passivity. You gave your empathy freely, and they assumed they could take you for granted. But what they never understood is that kindness is not the absence of strength. It is the presence of absolute control. You do not raise your voice, because your presence already speaks volumes. You do not seek revenge, because your values do not tremble in the face of chaos. And when you offer a helping hand, it is not because you are weak, it is because you are anchored, rooted, unshakable. This world will try to twist you. It will tempt you to harden, to turn cold, to build walls where you once built bridges. But you must remember, the Stoics never taught us to be indifferent. They taught us to be invincible, not immune to emotion but ungoverned by it, not lacking compassion but never ruled by the opinions of the crowd. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, and yet he wrote of mercy, of justice, of temperance. Epictetus was born a slave, and yet his words remain more powerful than kings. Strength of character, that is what endures. That is what echoes through time. Kindness is the fire that warms, not the flame that burns. But that fire, when tempered with principle, when bound to reason, can become the forge of greatness. You are not kind because the world is. You are kind because you have chosen to rise above it. Because here's the truth they won't tell you. It is far easier to be cruel. It is easy to lash out. It is easy to blame, to judge, to destroy. But to remain calm when others erupt, to extend grace when others demand war, that is the higher road. That is the domain of the disciplined, the courageous, the truly powerful. And you were never meant to cower. You were born to command the storm, not by shouting louder, but by mastering your inner weather. The winds of opinion, the tides of emotion, the earthquakes of self-doubt. A strong mind builds its own shelter. A kind soul walks into battle not with a sword, but with a purpose. Do not confuse gentleness with weakness. The tree that bends in the storm does not break. It survives. It adapts. But beneath that graceful arc is a root system as deep as conviction itself. You will meet people who mistake manipulation for leadership, who mistake noise for truth, who feed on the illusion that dominance means value. Let them. Because while they play loud, shallow games, you build something deeper, something unshakable. And one day, when the storm clears, only what is real will remain. You do not need to prove your worth with cruelty. Your worth is proven in how you carry yourself when no one claps, when no one watches. It is in the decisions you make when you could betray but choose not to, when you could lie but speak the truth, when you could win by stepping on others but you lift instead. This is not softness. This is Stoic fire. It burns beneath the surface, unseen, but unstoppable. Lincoln carried the weight of a fractured nation on his back, yet he wrote with tenderness. He governed with steel in his spine and mercy in his heart. Frederick Douglass spoke with fire, yet forgave with grace. They did not have the luxury of weakness, they were tested in every way. And still, they chose dignity. They chose principle. Because true power is not about controlling others. It's about mastering yourself. That is why you do not retaliate. That is why you do not crumble. That is why you remain kind in a world that doesn't always deserve it. Because your kindness is not for them. It's for you. It's the declaration that you are not a reflection of your enemies. You are the product of your values. And you will not surrender those values for convenience or applause. So when the world laughs at your empathy, let them laugh. When they say you're too soft, let them speak. You were not built to impress them. You were built to endure them. Kindness without boundaries is sacrifice. But kindness with boundaries? That's power. You must build a wall not around your heart, but around your time, your energy, your standards. Give freely but not to everyone. Help others but not at the expense of your soul. The Stoics knew that love without wisdom was chaos, and discipline without compassion was tyranny. You must hold both. You must live in that paradox. That is where greatness is born. They will test you. Life will test you, not just with difficulty, but with praise, with temptation, with moments when you could become the thing you despise because it would be easier. Because the world says, win at any cost. But the Stoic asks, what is the cost of winning without virtue? You see, kindness is not the goal. Kindness is the result of clarity, of knowing who you are and refusing to become anything less, of holding to your principles even when your hands shake, even when the night is long and the road is lonely and the applause never comes. But you will still rise, because kindness is not something you perform. It is something you become. You become it by choosing the harder path, by holding the line when others fold, by refusing to let bitterness take root in your spirit. Every day the world will offer you a chance to betray yourself, through shortcuts, through petty revenge, through silence when your voice is needed. And every day you must choose virtue or comfort, truth or convenience, compassion or cruelty. Make no mistake, kindness is warfare. It is the battle to remain human in an inhuman world. It is waking up with every reason to be cold, but choosing warmth. It is standing in a room full of liars and still telling the truth. It is being surrounded by selfishness and still giving without agenda. That is the battle. That is the fire. And most will never understand it. They'll say you're weak because you forgive, but they don't know the strength it takes to unclench your fist. They'll say you're naive because you hope, but they've never had the courage to look at a broken world and still believe in goodness. They'll say you're a fool for giving second chances, but they've never understood that mercy is not ignorance, it's dominance over the ego. The ego screams, the soul whispers, the weak follow the noise, the strong listen to the stillness. Do you want to know what real power looks like? It's not in the raised voice, not in the clenched jaw, not in the throne or the applause or the image. It's in the person who could humiliate you but doesn't, who could destroy you but helps you rise. It's the man who walks away when pride begs him to stay and fight. It's the woman who says no when everyone else is saying yes, because her integrity is worth more than belonging. In this life, you'll be tempted to lower your standards, to match the world's indifference. Don't let others play small. You go higher. Let others settle. You build what lasts. You are not responsible for the wounds of the world, but you are responsible for not becoming one of them. And if that means walking alone, walk alone. Better to stand alone with truth than be surrounded by cowards who traded their soul for acceptance. The Stoic does not walk through life armored in stone. They walk with skin in the game, heart open, scars visible. Not because they enjoy the pain, but because they know you cannot love the world and stay untouched by it. So yes, be kind. Be kind without apology. Be kind in the morning chaos, in the silent nights, in the face of betrayal, in the presence of ignorance. Be kind, even when they don't deserve it, because that's when it matters most. But do not confuse that kindness with permission. Do not let them mistake your grace for tolerance of disrespect. You are not a doormat. You are the storm they never saw coming because it wore the face of peace. Set your standards like granite. Let your principles weigh more than popularity. Draw your boundaries like walls carved in truth. And when someone crosses them, do not respond with hatred, respond with clarity, with certainty, with removal, because you are not obligated to entertain chaos in the name of compassion. Your life is sacred. Your time is sacred. Your energy is the currency of your legacy. Do not spend it on what does not serve your purpose. Kindness is not giving everyone access. It's knowing who's earned it. You must learn to say no not with guilt, but with wisdom. To walk away not in fear, but in strength. To let go of people not with hate, but with hope. Hope that they will find their own light, but understanding that your light is not theirs to dim. It is a dangerous world for the kind. The wolves wear suits now. They speak softly and pretend to understand. But you were born with instincts, with fire, with the discernment to know who to pour into and who to walk away from. Be the type of person who makes others feel safe, but never safe enough to take advantage of you. Hold your peace like a weapon. Speak less, but say more. And when the world pushes, do not push back with noise. Push back with results, with progress, with quiet mastery. Because the lion does not roar to prove it's a lion. It simply walks, and the world remembers its presence. You do not need to shout. Your growth will speak. Your integrity will echo. Your consistency will thunder. So when they test you and they will, do not flinch. When they provoke you and they will, do not react. When they leave, let them. When they return, observe them. But always remain the same. Grounded, kind, focused, and firm. You are not here to win battles. You are here to win your soul. And that means choosing discipline when indulgence calls. Choosing humility when ego knocks. Choosing patience when anger begs for release. Choosing silence when the world is loud. Because stillness is where the truth lives. Yes, kindness can feel like a burden. Can feel like walking through fire barefoot. But it is the fire that forges you. The moments you show compassion in the face of cruelty, those are the moments you sharpen into a blade the world cannot dull. Let others chase power. You become it. Let others chase followers. You become a leader. Let others chase validation. You become the standard. Because at the end of your life, it won't be how loud you were, how ruthless you became, or how much you took. It will be how fiercely you loved, how bravely you stood, how honorably you carried the weight of your own choices. That is the legacy of the kind. You want to know who you really are? Watch what you do when no one's watching. Watch how you treat the person who can offer you nothing. Watch how you act when the room gives you permission to abandon your integrity, and you refuse. That is the soul of strength. Quiet, steady, invisible to the shallow eye. But it burns through every word you speak, every action you take, every boundary you set. The world doesn't need louder people. It needs clearer ones. It doesn't need more dominance. It needs more direction. And that begins with you, the one who chose not to let pain turn into poison. The one who turned wounds into wisdom. The one who understood that kindness isn't about being liked. It's about being aligned. With truth. With character. With something eternal. There's no power in popularity if you have to dilute your soul to earn it. So don't seek applause. Seek alignment. Stand in rooms where your silence speaks louder than noise. Walk into conflict and carry peace like armor. Refuse to let their chaos shape your identity. Let your values be louder than their insults. Let your vision be stronger than their doubt. You weren't built to react. You were built to respond. There's a difference. Reaction is a spark. It's ego. It's fight or flight. It's the first punch thrown in a war no one wins. But response, that's where the Stoic lives. That's where wisdom sharpens into presence. You take a breath. You see the truth. You speak only what needs to be said. And then you move forward not because you're running, but because you're rising. You're not here to match their energy. You're here to maintain your own. Your kindness is not a transaction. It's not a weakness. It's a declaration that you are not afraid to care, that you are not afraid to feel, that you can be fully human, fully heart, fully soul, and still be disciplined enough to never let any of it control you. Control is not the suppression of emotion. It is the integration of it. It's looking rage in the face and saying, "Not today." It's holding sorrow in your chest without letting it bend your spine. It's carrying love in your hands without letting it blind your judgment. Be kind, but never lose yourself. Do not betray your standards for temporary peace. Do not water yourself down so that others can swallow you easier. You were not built to be tolerated. You were built to be respected. And that respect begins not when others give it to you, but when you give it to yourself. You do not need permission to be powerful. You do not need validation to be valuable. You do not need applause to stay the course. You need vision. You need purpose. You need a compass that doesn't break when the crowd turns on you, because they will. At some point, they will misunderstand you. They will question you. They will mock what they cannot comprehend. Let them. That is not your concern. Your concern is your character. And that is the one thing in this life you have complete control over. Not your circumstances, not your past, not how they treat you, but how you rise, how you choose, how you respond. They may label you. They may try to twist your kindness into weakness. but they cannot touch the strength behind your silence. They cannot rewrite the life you are building with every moment of clarity, of courage, of calm conviction. Don't argue. Don't explain. Don't beg. Just become. Become the example. Become the lighthouse. Become so disciplined in your principles, so unwavering in your presence, that their noise fades into the background of your mission. Remember, you were not put here to fix everyone. You were put here to become someone worth following, someone worth remembering, someone who didn't sell their soul for convenience. Be kind, yes, but also be sharp, be exact, be clear about who gets your time, who earns your trust, who belongs in your presence. Not everyone does, and that's not cruel. That's wisdom. You are not required to carry everyone. You are not required to heal everyone. You are not required to suffer for the sake of being liked. You are required to honor your potential, to protect your peace, to lead with clarity even when the world begs for compromise. This is what the Stoics understood, that the highest form of strength is not domination, it is self-mastery. It is the ability to govern your own mind when everything around you is chaos, to hold your tongue when anger knocks, to move with purpose while others drift. So yes, be kind, but let that kindness be forged in fire. Let it be deliberate, not accidental. Let it come from power, not permission. Let it be the softness of water that carves mountains. Slow, steady, relentless. Because one day they'll look back and they'll see. They'll see that you weren't just kind, you were powerful. You weren't just gentle, you were unbreakable. And every step you took in silence was a step toward something greater than applause. Something eternal. Something no one can take from you. Strength is not loud. It doesn't seek eyes or echo across the surface like thunder without rain. Real strength, the kind that reshapes lives, is quiet. It's the decision made when you're on your knees, when everything hurts, when you have every reason to give up, and you still choose to stand. That is kindness too. Kindness to yourself. Because in a world that praises burnout, overexertion, and self-sacrifice, the radical act is to say, I matter too. The Stoics didn't teach martyrdom. They taught responsibility for your life, for your choices, for your soul. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do is protect your own energy like your life depends on it. Because it does. You were not put here to crumble under the weight of everyone else's expectations. You were not born to bleed endlessly for causes that don't even recognize your sacrifice. Your mission is not to please, it is to become. Become the fullest expression of truth inside you. Become the flame that lights, not burns. The force that moves, not manipulates. Kindness without clarity is self-destruction. But kindness with clarity, that's legacy. It's the mother who teaches her child to stand with dignity, not just to obey. It's the leader who sets boundaries so others can rise with order, not chaos. It's the warrior who understands that protecting their village sometimes means saying no, firmly, compassionately, and without apology. There is no virtue in being used. There is no wisdom in always saying yes. And there is no honor in being kind to others while being cruel to yourself. So be kind, but be honest. Say what needs to be said. Hold the line. Let your no be a complete sentence. Let your values speak louder than your fear. Let your principles walk into every room before you do. Because once you lose yourself in trying to be everything for everyone, you will end up being nothing to yourself. And you cannot give from an empty soul. Fill your cup, not with distractions, not with noise, not with fleeting praise, but with silence, with solitude, with work that strengthens you, with habits that nourish your mind, with people who respect your peace, with thoughts that sharpen you like steel. You will not always be understood. And that's fine. Because this path, the path of the principled, the path of the grounded, the path of the kind yet unyielding, it's narrow. Most won't walk it. Most can't. They'll look for shortcuts. They'll compromise for applause. They'll chase comfort in the name of freedom. But freedom without discipline is chaos. And you were not built for chaos. You were built for command, not over others, but over the self. The Stoic does not fear rejection. He fears regret. She does not chase attention. She builds presence. They do not bow to pressure. They rise through it. You do not need to raise your voice. Your stillness will shake the room. You do not need to prove yourself. Your consistency will do it for you. And so, when you feel weak for being kind, remember this. Takes nothing to hate. Takes effort to care. Takes nothing to destroy. Takes everything to build. And every time you choose to build, you are declaring war on the easy path. You are rejecting the hollow in favor of the meaningful. You are doing what so few dare. You are becoming. Do not stop. Not when they mock you. Not when they misunderstand you. Not when the world tries to mold you into something colder. Keep your fire, but don't let it consume you. Keep your kindness, but don't let it weaken you. Keep your heart, but guard it with discipline, with thought, with courage. Because you were not made to be a mirror of the world's dysfunction. You were made to be a light in the middle of it. Not soft, not naive, not easy, but bright, clear, unshakable. There is no Stoic virtue greater than clarity. And clarity comes from knowing who you are, not who they say you should be. Clarity comes from standing on principle, not trend. From rooting in timeless truth while the world chases fleeting emotions. So when the crowd changes direction, stand still. When they tell you to fit in, stand out. When they want you to react, wait, then respond with precision. When they beg for drama, deliver grace. That's power. That's legacy. That's stoicism in action. Be kind. Not because it's easy, but because it's rare. Be kind. Not to please, but to lead. Be kind. Not without boundaries, but with immovable ones. And never, ever confuse that kindness with surrender. The world doesn't need more warriors with swords. It needs warriors with wisdom. It needs you. The strength of the Stoic is not in the strike. It's in the restraint. It's in the pause before the storm. It's in the grace extended when vengeance would be justified. And that, more than anything, is what the world fails to understand. They see silence and assume defeat. They see mercy and assume submission. But they don't see the war you've already won, the one inside. The war where you overcame your pride. Where you quieted the need to prove yourself. Where you walked away not because you were afraid, but because you were done bleeding for people who only knew how to take. That's not weakness. That's wisdom wrapped in armor. Because kindness, real kindness, is not emotional. It is not reactive. It is chosen. Intentionally. Deliberately. It is forged in moments of betrayal. In the fire of rejection. In the silence that follows abandonment. And still, it endures. Not because it's blind, but because it sees so clearly. It sees what anger will cost. It sees how bitterness corrodes the soul. It sees that revenge might satisfy the moment, but it poisons the long game. So you don't choose kindness to feel good, you choose it because it builds a life that is good. And that life, that legacy, becomes undeniable. But make no mistake, it takes discipline. It takes discipline to hold your tongue when your pride is on fire. Discipline to stand still when every nerve screams to fight back. Discipline to walk away when every wound wants to scream, "Look what you did to me." Discipline to lead with virtue even when no one else does. The Stoics never promised ease. They never said this road would be paved in comfort or praise. They promised peace, the kind that comes not from the world, but from mastering yourself. And that self-mastery is a daily war. It's the early morning decision to rise when your bed whispers comfort. It's the quiet resistance to gossip when your reputation is under attack. It's the choice to forgive someone who'll never ask for it. It's the refusal to quit on your character, even when your circumstances try to crush it. You carry that power, not because the world gave it to you, but because you earned it. In the fire, in the dark, in the silence. You earned it by refusing to become the things that tried to break you. So many people will choose the easy version of power. Domination, intimidation, manipulation. But that's not power. That's fear dressed in armor. That's the scream of a soul too weak to heal, too small to grow. You don't need to play that game. Your power is deeper. It's in the discipline to stay calm while others panic. It's in the refusal to compromise your values, even when you're tired. It's in the strength to say no with kindness. It's in the wisdom to say yes with boundaries. It's in the humility to ask for help, and the courage to stand alone when none comes. And when the world calls you soft for choosing kindness, smile, because they don't understand yet. They don't see that the kindest people are often the ones who've endured the most, that those who offer peace are often forged by war, that those who love deeply are often the ones who had to teach themselves how to survive without it. You didn't choose kindness because your life was easy. You chose it because your soul refused to stay small, because you looked in the mirror and decided you would not pass your pain on to others. You would not make the world colder just because it hurt you first. You would not join the ranks of the bitter, the broken, the loud and lost. You would rise, silently, powerfully, unshakably. And so you did. Every quiet act of self-respect. Every time you walked away from chaos. Every breath you took instead of lashing out. Every decision to love when it would have been easier to harden. You were writing a legacy. You were building a life worth living. Not just for yourself, but for the people watching. The people you don't even know you're inspiring. The ones who see how you carry yourself and think, maybe I can too. You are the lighthouse. Not because you're perfect, but because you keep showing up. And that's what Stoicism truly is. Not the absence of emotion, but the refusal to be ruled by it. Not the denial of pain, but the transformation of it. Not the rejection of kindness, but the elevation of it, from something sentimental to something sacred. So yes, be kind, but be fierce in your boundaries. Be unyielding in your standards. Be relentless in your discipline. Be precise in your presence. Because the world does not need more echoes. It needs more foundations. It needs more souls who refuse to sell themselves for likes, for power, for comfort. It needs you fully alive, fully present, fully grounded. And if kindness is your sword, sharpen it. If discipline is your shield, raise it. If virtue is your compass, follow it without fear. Because the life you're building isn't just for now. It's for always. You are not here to win arguments. You are here to win your inner war. And that war is fought in silence. Not in public victories, not in applause, not in titles. It's fought in the moment you choose dignity over drama. When you walk past the noise. When you stare at a version of yourself you could become. The petty, the reactive, the bitter, and say, not today. It's easy to hate what hurt you. It's harder to outgrow it. It's easy to mock the foolish. It's harder to lead them with patience. It's easy to burn bridges. But it takes vision to build them strong enough to carry generations. So you lead not because the world asked you to, but because your soul couldn't accept anything less. You carry kindness not like a burden, but like a crown. A quiet reminder that even in the darkest moments, you refuse to become what tried to break you. And that is power. Not the power they sell in books. Not the kind you flaunt on stages or throw around in meetings. No. This power doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It doesn't wear masks. It simply is. It's the man who lifts others even while he's carrying his own pain. It's the woman who loves without needing permission. It's the leader who sacrifices without needing recognition. It's you, showing up every single day with no audience, no guarantee, no validation, and still giving your best. Why? Because that's what legacy demands. Because one day you'll be gone, and all the things you chased will vanish. But the way you treated people, that will echo. The lives you touched with your words, the ones you calmed with your presence, the people who rose because you didn't strike them when you could have, but lifted them when they least deserved it. That will last. That will be your monument, not carved in stone, but in hearts. You don't need to be remembered for how hard you hit. You'll be remembered for how deeply you healed. That's the Stoic truth. That's the eternal impact of kindness with strength. So no, you are not too soft. You are not too much. You are not too kind for this world. This world is too distracted to see the rare force that you are. But let them sleep. Let them doubt. Let them misunderstand. Because you are not doing this for them. You're doing it for the person you're becoming, for the future you're shaping, for the fire you're mastering, for the truth you refuse to abandon. And there will come a day, maybe when you least expect it, when someone you never noticed will walk up to you and say, "Because of how you carried yourself, I didn't give up." Not because you gave them a speech, not because you saved them, but because you modeled something higher, something unwavering, something real. The kind of person who's kind not because the world is, but because you are. You're not perfect. You're not invincible. You're not immune to pain. But you are anchored, and that's more than enough. So when they try to shake you, stand tall. When they try to drag you into the mud, stay clean. When they try to bait you into pettiness, stay focused. When they try to reduce you to their level, stay elevated. Because your soul wasn't built to crawl. It was built to walk, calmly, steadily, relentlessly, toward something greater than conflict. You are not reactive. You are deliberate. You are not fragile. You are fluid. You are not naive. You are eternal. You are the quiet storm, the invisible gravity, the steady drumbeat of clarity in a world that's forgotten what it means to be whole. So be kind, but never allow them to write your script. Be kind, but never hand your identity to the crowd. Be kind, but never forget, you are not here to be consumed. You are here to create, to rise, to build, to become the kind of force they don't see coming, not because you hide, but because you don't need the spotlight. You've already found the fire within. And once you've found that, no one can dim you again. There is a different kind of fire that lives in those who have suffered in silence. It doesn't rage. It doesn't burn to destroy. It burns to purify, turns pain into wisdom, loss into purpose, isolation into independence, and kindness into power. You know this fire. You felt it. On the days no one clapped, no one called, no one understood what it took just to show up. And still you showed up. You showed up with your heart intact, with your mind focused, with your values unshaken. That is not weakness. That is the highest form of human strength. Because anyone can be kind when life is kind to them. Anyone can love when love is returned. Anyone can smile when they're winning. But to stay gentle when the world turns sharp? To stay open when betrayal says, "Close off"? To stay good when you have every excuse to be bitter? That is rare. That is sacred. That is the path of the Stoic. And yet, here's the truth few will admit. This path is lonely. It is not lined with praise. It is not littered with likes. It doesn't trend, and it doesn't fit neatly into a hashtag. It is carved in silence, walked in solitude, and tested in the places no one sees. Because there will be days when kindness feels like a curse, when your heart gets stepped on, when your trust gets broken, when your silence is mistaken for weakness again, and you will be tempted to harden, to close, to protect yourself with bitterness, to fight fire with fire. Don't. Because the moment you abandon your principles to match their behavior, you lose twice. First to them, then to yourself. Don't let your pain rewrite your character. Let it refine it. Let it deepen your empathy. Let it sharpen your boundaries. Let it teach you who is worth your time, and who is only here to steal your light. You are not here to teach lessons through vengeance. You are here to teach through example. And that example will outlast every insult, every betrayal, every moment of silence from the ones who should have stood beside you but didn't. You will outlast them all not by being louder, but by being rooted. Rooted in reason. Rooted in virtue. Rooted in a code that does not bend to public opinion. And no one can touch that. They can take the job. They can walk away. They can twist your words. But they cannot take what you've built in your soul. That is the Stoic shield. The inner fortress of a person who knows who they are. Because when you know who you are truly, deeply, you no longer need to prove it. You no longer chase justice in every offense. You no longer beg for closure. You no longer need to be seen because you see yourself. And in that clarity, you become untouchable. Let others scream for validation. You remain silent in your purpose. Let others beg to be understood. You stay grounded in your truth. Let others play games. You build empires, brick by brick, act by act, day by day. And if you ever forget the power of kindness, remember this. It is not the lion's roar that builds the kingdom. It is the lion's restraint. It is the ability to destroy and choosing not to. It is the strength to dominate and choosing instead to lead. That choice is everything. It separates the tyrant from the leader, the fool from the philosopher, the lost from the legendary. So when you are tested and you will be, ask yourself, who do I want to be when this moment ends? Do I want to match their noise? Or do I want to magnify my purpose? Do I want to win the argument? Or win my own respect? Do I want to react? Or do I want to rise? Because that's the difference between being kind and being weak. Weakness gives in to the moment. Kindness transcends it. And you were born to transcend. Transcend, not to escape the world, but to rise above what it tries to turn you into. Because the world is noisy. It wants you reactive, angry, outraged. It feeds on your distraction, profits from your pain, thrives on your submission to its chaos. But the Stoic refuses. The Stoic does not abandon the world. The Stoic redeems it, not with noise, but with presence. Not with dominance, but with direction. You are not just resisting the world's darkness. You are rebuilding something brighter, beginning with yourself. Each day you're offered 1,000 little exits from your values. A chance to gossip, a chance to lie, a chance to judge, a chance to compromise. And each day you say no, not loudly, not with a banner, but with stillness. That is how the mountain remains standing while the storm screams. You say no with your patience. You say no with your silence. You say no by doing the hard thing, the clean thing, the right thing. Even when it costs you. Especially when it costs you. Because virtue is only real when it hurts. It's not a performance. It's not an accessory. It's the fire you walk through alone because you'd rather burn with integrity than live comfortably in betrayal. And yes, people will fail you. Even the ones you loved. Even the ones you gave everything to. Even the ones you believed in more than they believed in themselves. But that's not a reason to shut down. It's a reason to grow up, to rise wiser, sharper, but never smaller. To protect your peace, but never build a fortress so high that no one can reach you. The Stoic is not a stone. The Stoic is a vessel, built strong enough to carry pain without letting it spill into others. That's what you are. You are not cold. You are conscious. You are not naive. You are noble. And in that nobility is the decision to never become a reflection of your enemies, but always a reminder of what they could have been had they chosen better. You lead with kindness not because the world is kind, but because you are not governed by the world. You are governed by principle. And that principle whispers to you in the quiet. Do not lower your standard just to avoid being alone. Do not trade your peace just to be liked. Do not abandon your mission for the comfort of the crowd. Because you are not a mirror. You are a flame. You do not reflect the world, you illuminate it. You do not echo the noise, you cut through it. And as you rise, you will lose people. But that's not a tragedy. It's clarity. Some people are chapters. Others are footnotes. And you are the author. Don't let temporary characters write permanent truths about who you are. You are not hard to love. You are hard to fool. You are not too intense. You are just unwilling to be deluded. You are not too kind for this world. You are exactly what it needs, but not everyone is ready for that. And that's okay. You're not here for everyone. You're here for the ones who see what you carry, who respect your boundaries, who feel the heat of your presence and choose to rise with you, not run from it. And most of all, you're here for yourself, for the promise you made in the dark, the one where you swore you'd never let life make you bitter, the one where you said you'd rather walk alone in truth than sit with many in lies, the one where you knew, even through your tears, that the path of kindness, discipline, and clarity would cost you, but it would also crown you. You were never here to fit in. You were here to set the standard. And that standard? It starts with how you treat people, especially when you have the power not to. Anyone can dominate, Few can inspire. Anyone can silence. Few can heal. Anyone can destroy. Few can discipline themselves enough to build, quietly, daily, faithfully. Be the one who builds. Even when they mock it. Even when they leave. Even when you doubt yourself. Because that foundation you're laying with your daily discipline, your unseen kindness, your grounded clarity. It is becoming a legacy that nothing can shake. The storm may come. The noise may rise. The world may spin out of control. But you remain. You remain, not because life has been gentle, but because you've made peace with its chaos. You've accepted what is yours to control, and what is not. You've let go of the weight that wasn't yours to carry, the expectations, the guilt, the constant apologizing for simply being someone who refuses to be shallow. You've stopped shrinking just to fit into their comfort zone. You've stopped softening your truth to make your presence more palatable. Because truth without clarity is noise, and kindness without strength is surrender. But the moment you wove your kindness with conviction, something unbreakable was born. You, no longer deluded, no longer seeking to be everything for everyone, no longer confusing being liked with being respected. You are no longer chasing. You are becoming. And in this becoming, you've learned something most never do. That kindness is not about how you treat people when you're feeling good. It's about how you treat people when you aren't. It's when you're tired, when you're under attack, when your heart's been broken and your patience stretched thin, when no one sees how much you're holding inside, and you still choose to act from principle, not pain. That is where your greatness is forged. That is where leaders are born. Because the world doesn't change through force. It changes through example. And you are the quiet proof that it's possible to be powerful without being cruel. To be respected without being feared. To be clear without being cold. To be kind. And still walk away from anything that disrespects your standards. There is no weakness in walking away. There is wisdom. Because boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are bridges that carry only the worthy across. And not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your story. Some people are not enemies, but they are anchors. They slow your rise. They drain your clarity. They confuse your instincts. Let them go. Not with hate, not with vengeance, with understanding. Because holding on to what isn't aligned is not kindness. It's delay. Delay of the life you're building. Delay of the impact you're meant to make. Delay of the clarity that's waiting for you on the other side of detachment. There will come a day when the people who called you too kind will wish they had your peace. When those who mocked your patience will be drowning in their own noise. When those who misunderstood your silence will realize they were never listening, only judging. And you will still be rising, still serving your mission, still rooted in something too deep to be pulled by trends, too clear to be clouded by doubt. Because your foundation is not built on outcomes. It's built on order. Your peace does not depend on agreement. It depends on alignment. And your strength is not measured by what you say, but what you don't need to say anymore. That's the mark of the unshakable. You no longer need to convince anyone. You no longer need to explain your boundaries. You no longer waste energy proving your worth to people committed to misunderstanding it. Instead, you live. Fully, freely, fiercely. You rise even when it's quiet. You lead even when no one follows. You give not to receive, but because generosity is who you are. That's not weakness. That's the rarest kind of power. And if the world can't see it yet, let it catch up. You're not here for instant validation. You're here for eternal value. For the legacy that's carved not in numbers or praise, but in impact. In the hearts that remember how you made them feel when they were at their worst, and you offered your best. That's what changes the world. Not noise, not dominance, not ego, but a single life, lived with so much integrity, so much calm, so much purpose, that the world around it starts to shift. And that life, that light is you. You are the light they didn't expect, the presence they can't ignore, the standard they didn't know they needed until you walked in. You speak less, but every word cuts through noise like a blade through fog. You react slower, but when you move, the room shifts. Not because you demand it, but because you've earned it. Because when you enter a space, you bring order. Where there is panic, you are calm. Where there is noise, you are still. Where there is doubt, you are clarity. And that's what scares them. That's why they'll call your gentleness weakness, because they've never seen strength that doesn't need to scream. You are rewriting the definition of power. They told you power was control, but you learned control begins with the self. They told you strength was domination, but you've shown it is discipline. They told you kindness would break you, but you've proven it builds an armor no sword can cut. And so you keep showing up. Not to prove, not to compete, but to fulfill the quiet promise you made long ago, that no matter what the world tried to make of you, you would remain rooted in your own design. Because the world will try. It will test you with betrayal. It will tempt you with shortcuts. It will try to convince you that noise equals relevance, that performance equals truth, that kindness equals weakness. But you've tasted too much truth to go back now. You've seen what shallow success looks like, and you want no part of it. You've watched people sell their peace for attention, trade their values for belonging, and drown in applause they no longer respect. You'd rather walk alone with integrity than lead 1,000 without it. Because Stoicism doesn't chase the crowd. It builds the foundation they come to when everything else falls apart. You are that foundation. Not because you say you are, but because you've bled for it. Because your peace wasn't inherited. It was earned. In lonely nights. In silent battles. In moments when it would have been easier to break. But you didn't. You bent, maybe. You hurt, surely. But you did not break. And every time you chose to rise again, you were forging something eternal. A soul that no one owns but you. So don't you dare question your path now. Don't you dare dim that light just because others can't handle its warmth. Don't shrink to fit their fear. Don't soften your truth to soothe their ego. Don't apologize for being whole in a world addicted to fragments. Let them look away. Let them misunderstand. Let them call it weakness. You know better. You know that when they crumble under pressure, you remain calm. When they attack out of fear, you answer with discipline. When they fall apart in chaos, you become the still point of the storm. That is who you are now. You're no longer interested in proving yourself. You're interested in being yourself. Fully. Completely. Unapologetically. And if that makes them uncomfortable, let it. You are not here to walk on eggshells. You are here to walk on purpose. You are not here to keep the peace by silencing your voice. You are here to speak the truth with love, with clarity, with strength. You are not here to be everyone's friend. You are here to be your own guardian. And the way you guard your energy, your standards, your soul, that is the highest form of kindness. To yourself. To those who look up to you. To the future you're building through every quiet act of discipline. So remember this. Kindness is not what you do. It's who you are when no one is looking. When you're exhausted. When they've pushed every button. When the easy thing would be to snap, to lash, to become like them. But you don't. You lead. Not from ego. From essence. And in that essence lives the rarest kind of strength. Still. Steady. Unshakable. Unshakable, not because life went easy on you, but because you stopped depending on ease. You grew tired of waiting for the world to change, so you changed yourself. You stopped hoping others would be better, and instead you became the example. You stopped asking for permission, and started giving yourself direction. And now you move differently. Not faster, not louder, but clearer. Every step is deliberate. Every word is measured. Every decision is rooted in alignment, not approval. Because you've learned. The ones who live loudest often feel the emptiest. But those who walk in silence, grounded in purpose, they are the ones who shape generations. And you are shaping everything around you not by force but by gravity. You are no longer drawn into every argument. You are no longer addicted to being understood. You no longer feel the need to explain your boundaries. Because you've become something most people never will, at peace with yourself. And when you reach that place, you realize something deeper. The ultimate act of kindness is self-respect. Not just in the way you speak to others, but in the way you speak to yourself. in the way you honor your own time, in the way you guard your focus, in the way you walk away from what drains you, not out of cruelty but out of clarity. This world will guilt you for that. It will call you selfish. It will say you've changed. Let it, because what they call selfish is self-ownership. What they call cold is just the heat of your truth burning away what no longer belongs. And what they call weakness is what they fear most, someone who can no longer be controlled. You are no longer performing. You are living. And living at this level, it comes with cost. You will lose things. You will lose people. You will lose illusions. But what you gain is unshakable. You gain freedom from the opinions of the crowd. You gain power in your word because you no longer speak to be heard, but to mean something. You gain presence because your mind no longer wanders, lost in fear or fantasy. And most of all, you gain yourself. The you that existed before the world told you to be quieter. Before the world told you that kindness meant surrender. Before you ever believed that fitting in was more important than standing tall. That version of you is back. Rooted in reason. Fueled by purpose. Clothed in calm. They tried to make you small. You expanded. They tried to break you. You bent but never snapped. They tried to twist your kindness into a weakness. But now they see it was the shield you were forging all along. Not to hide behind, but to lead with. Because kindness, when owned fully, is unstoppable. It walks into chaos and brings peace. It looks hate in the eye and stays unshaken. It gives without begging to receive. It leads without needing the credit. It doesn't need a spotlight. It is the light. So keep shining. Keep setting the example. Keep rising, not for recognition, but because rising is who you are now. Not every battle needs a warrior with a sword. Some need a soul with a spine. And that's who you are, a soul with a spine. You feel deeply. Speak calmly. Move with purpose. Lead with grace. You don't react, you respond. You don't chase, you create. You don't collapse, you breathe, then build. That is your power now. And if they still mistake it for weakness, let them. You're not here to convince them. You're here to outlive the lie. Outlive the lie that says only the ruthless rise. Outlive the myth that says only the loud are heard. Outlive the illusion that only those who dominate leave a legacy. Because you will leave something far greater than dominance. You will leave dignity. You will leave clarity. You will leave a path so clean, so grounded, so unmistakably yours, that others will follow long after your footsteps have faded. Not because you forced them, because you inspired them, because they saw what it looks like when a human being refuses to bend to bitterness, to chaos, to fear, because they saw what it looks like to live with soul armor. Calm on the surface, fire underneath, guided by purpose that doesn't sway with the seasons. You will become a reminder that power and gentleness can live in the same body, that truth and love can speak in the same voice, that strength does not require cruelty, that kindness is not surrender. It is strategy. It is sovereignty. It is soul-deep discipline. So walk on. Walk with your head high and your heart intact. Walk knowing that every act of grace is a declaration of strength. That every quiet refusal to descend into chaos is a step toward peace. That every person you choose to forgive, every battle you choose not to fight, every insult you choose not to answer, is not weakness, but a signal to the universe that you are done playing small. You've stepped into your full form now. No longer at war with yourself. No longer begging the world to validate your kindness. No longer asking for permission to be exactly what you are. A force. Presence. A standard. So when they ask who you are, don't list titles. Don't list achievements. Don't list followers. Say this: I am kind, but I am not weak. I am patient, but I am not passive. I am grounded, but I will not be walked over. I am generous, but I do not bleed for those who sharpen knives behind my back. I give, but not without discernment. I love, but not without boundaries. I forgive, but I never forget what I've learned. Because that is the mantra of the Stoic warrior. not armored in ego but in essence, not burning to conquer but burning to become. You are no longer chasing the version of you the world said was worthy. You've remembered the version of you that was born whole. And that version doesn't flinch anymore, doesn't explain anymore, doesn't shrink anymore. It walks forward, kind, focused, unstoppable. And when the world finally sees the full power of that, of someone who loves deeply, speaks clearly, acts deliberately, and stands unshaken in the face of it all, it will have no choice but to say, there goes someone who changed everything, not with rage, not with force, but with presence, with grace, with the kind of strength the world forgot was possible, and now remembers, because of you,